Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. I'll get started here in just a second. Setting up some screens and throwing out some invites in case some of my regulars will want to join in. I'm gonna do my weekly update, so welcome anybody who made it in or who catches these at a later date. Either way. Everybody, it's just my weekly update on the crypto market. I do an educational video about basically trading and how to use EMA to help kind of understand where you're at in this market. Hold on, I got a window open. There we go. To understand where your asset is from a health perspective in this market, where the trend is kind of telling you, and where it looks like it may be heading, right? And so I've been running this journal a little bit, and we journal how it performs around the 19 EMA specifically. I do use some other ones in my algorithm to basically give you some visuals of some other information that I've discussed previous in all of my previous videos. So I'm just going to kind of recap that like I do on a weekly basis. Um, if anybody wants to catch this live, like I always say, just hit my links that I usually post over on Twitter. Put your notifications on if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, and then just go ahead and put in the comments whatever asset that you like to see, and we can chart that one as well as we kind of go down this educational journey over time. So I look forward to seeing any of those additional comments or assets as we go along so that we can see just how well the method works around pretty much any asset at any given time. And that's kind of my big thesis here, right? And so I'm doing this continuously just to kind of prove how well it works and etc. Right. So let's just kind of jump on in right here. So I usually do these as I stayed on a 7 day basis, update them on a weekly. So today is here. Um, Here, let me spread this out so we can get a better view of stuff. Zoom in a little bit. So over the last 7 days, this is a weekly chart. So let me go back to the daily first. Sorry about that. So over the last 7 days, we're right here today. So we go one, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Give or take around this area is where it probably was on my last video. We didn't have any break of the 18, so pretty much if you had taken the last break of the 18 here, all you've done is just stayed out and enjoyed these gains as you're picking up more Bitcoin. In this case, it's a Bitcoin chart. Um, you're picking up more Bitcoin as this price continues to decline, right? So pretty much easy call over here, and we're just waiting and enjoying the lower prices, right? What we'll be looking for, of course, if you're going to be pulling the trigger, of course, if you've already taken this win, right, from these exits, and you've already clocked in this win, that's fine, right? All you're doing now is either looking for price to reject off of either this 9 or this 19, right? And if you get a rejection, you can kind of go back out. If we don't go even up to reject, right, and you kind of got in at these areas, then you need to have some kind of area to where if we start to go lower, right, then you're protecting these buys as well. And I'll jump over to either a weekly or monthly chart, and we can kind of identify that. But looking here on the daily charts, if people are trying to look for some early entries, if the trend ever turns, the early entry today would be around 21,182, right? So we don't look like we're going to get there, but for anybody that's looking to catch an early entry, that would be about your early entry on Bitcoin at about 21,200, give or take. because this is going to kind of go up a little bit as price starts to go up. So we can got kind of just estimate it's around 21 to 200. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at on Bitcoin. We obviously had our last exits in this range and we just profited and waiting. Right. We had some of these situations where they didn't really come out to be much on some of the previous exits, right? But this is why this really just comes down to discipline and not math, because the algorithm, from a mathematical standpoint, in my opinion, has definitely proven itself. But you have to have the discipline to make sure that you're making these entries and exits. So this exit didn't yield you a whole lot, and you may say, "Oh, I don't want to go through that just for that little bit," right? Of course, the break up, if you were longing, it could have been something. Same with some of these, you didn't get a whole lot, right, on some of these exits. But if you're consistent with your exits, eventually it's definitely going to pay off. And this is one of those times where it's done pretty good and could potentially go down even further as we go through in time a little bit. So we'll be watching that. Let's go over to the weekly chart, kind of take a glance at it. This is where I kind of do most of my trading, and I try to educate people mostly on a weekly. So this is where I mostly cover information from. I just started doing dailies because we're so far at the bottom, and I know some people are trying to catch the early entries, and so they'll have to make all their pivots also off of that daily chart. Um, and so I've been covering that a little bit. But our money chart is our weekly chart. This is where all your strength and all your activities should really be focused on. We had our weekly breakdown way back here in April, around this $42,000 range on our last breakdown. We didn't even threaten a nine until we got over here in August, right? It was our first attempt at a nine, kind of rejected it, wicked, right? And then fell out. So we haven't had any kind of recovery since this initial breakdown. So anybody who have been following my method is safely and comfortably, enjoying this downtrend. So it does bother me sometimes how people say, "Oh, everybody's panicking and the bear market and everything's boring." And no, this was the biggest opportunity to make more of the asset that you have chosen since April, and most people just simply missed it. Right. So there's nothing boring about this time. This was the best opportunity of them all. And a lot of people just simply missed it. So be careful who you're listening to. And when you listen to these influencers and other TA people, in reality, this market is going to yield you opportunities in both directions. When you want to talk about boring times, this is kind of boring, right? So we bottom out, we never really recovered, and we're back at the bottom. Like, if you want to talk about boring, no volatility, this is the boring time. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 12 straight weeks that we've been stuck in this little bit of range. If I was to pull that up, let's say bottom there, highest it got was there, 42%, is the total range over 12 weeks. That's pretty boring. Um, Nonetheless, it does provide some opportunities as I've shown on the daily chart. Um, but yeah, even within the intra week, most of these candles are about, you know, 10, 12% or so on average, I would say. But yeah, that's what we're looking at on the daily. So let me get back here. We're currently kind of tested at three, fell back off, so it shows you a lack of momentum. We are on a weekly chart. So short term, even had some lack of momentum. Long term, we're not threatening the 19, we're not even close. So to market trend, I've always said it turns on Bitcoin's turn of 26,000 today, right? Above this 19, the yellow line. So this would be when the bear market is over, essentially, for lack of better words, just how I articulate it, because people kind of understand in layman's terms, not using necessarily market technical terms that are agreed upon by others. But this is what you'd be looking for to say the market has turned back bullish. Bitcoin to get back above this essentially 26,000 right now, 26.1. We did have, as I articulated in another video, this 19 continued to cross, and it did cross this EMA here, which is our 100, I believe. And that um, gave us this continued down momentum as I was expecting, right? So if we look up here, what do we have additional to go? If we want to speculate any further downside, we zoom in here and we can see that, here is, if I can zoom in a little more, we can see that this little brown line started crossing these two moving averages What we can expect if this downtrend really continues and we start to push lower is we'll be looking for this brown one to pop and go under this white line. We'd also be looking for all of these additional moving averages to then get pulled under this, and that would probably bring us in some significant lower prices, but that's what we're looking for. If these crosses continue now, that's going to continue us to the downside, and everything's pointing in that direction. So it looks like we have a lot of downward momentum left to go in Bitcoin. It's essentially what I'm trying to show you as all of these crosses continue. So what I see we're probably going to eventually look like when this thing kind of eventually bottoms out is we'll look the same way the DXY looks today, as far as these color lineups. Because if you notice here, we're starting to get this color lineup of white, blue, yellow, right? With this being one of our highest moving averages is orange, right? So what I'm saying is if this thing really continues to be bearish over time and kind of bottoms out of this worst case scenario, then what'll happen is all of these lines in this group and this group will get pulled under this orange line, and we'll have a lineup, right, from low to high, all successively in order, right? So I can illustrate that if I go over to the DXY, even though it's in its bullish pattern, you still get a look at how the lines will look um, when they're fanned out. Let's get rid of this. When they're fanned out in order, right? So you have the white, blue, yellow, red. I'm colorblind, so excuse me. Whatever these other additional colors are that you have here, right? With this orange obviously being the last one. So what we're looking for is this color pattern, right, in this order to exist invertedly, right, on Bitcoin. So then this would be your most top line, second to the top line going up, and then this would be your most closest line to price, right? So we're looking for this to basically be inverted, and that would definitely signal that we're at our bottom, right? If we ever go that low. Not saying that we will, but if we ever see this inverted right on the Bitcoin chart, we should be very close to the bottom at that point. Right now, we're just essentially trying to, looks like, see that play out as all of these get pulled under this, and this becomes the highest line as all of these go below. So I'll dip over to the monthly. We'll find the supports in case anybody is looking for the supports or where you might be wanting to set your stop losses if you are buying today. And then if we see these levels, then you certainly should see some pickup, right? So first interesting thing that we can definitely see that this moving average here kind of acted as resistance, right? Couldn't really grab support on it. I think I may have moved my number a little bit. This is probably off. But nonetheless, we can get a good visual as it's acting as resistance now to this monthly candle. Most important thing we have going today is this moving average here at 18,784. If we lose that, right, then that puts our next lowest EMA in play, which would be around this area at 15,848, right? So we don't really have to worry about Bitcoin really going any lower than 1877 as of now, because this EMA that we're looking at here in this light blue color, I believe it is the strongest support that we have in Bitcoin, period, as of today. And the reason I make that assumption is because if we take that EMA back, we follow it, which is this blue line, right, and we follow it back in time, it was the support that we had during the COVID situation, right? And price never went past that, right? If we go back in time, the higher EMA was actually our previous supports, right? So we had it actually here, and we never in history, have gone under that, right? These are pretty much new EMAs who just started coming in here in 18. That blue one that's acting as the strongest support, it came in here. We did have a new one come in here in April of 20 around the same time. We just got past that lower one. So worst case scenario, in my opinion, would be this EMA. But until we lose this one, right, I'm not even putting this one much on the table. And I do have one that could be a little bit lower, but again, there's no reason in talking about that one until we get past some of the ones that we are looking at right now. So if you are buying today, maybe a stop loss at 18.78. I'm not saying stop loss, but um, if you're looking to catch better prices, I mean, actually, this is kind of just a wait and hold period. Like if you're dollar cost averaging, just dollar cost averaging the dollars and just deploy it deploy it as we get into these lower ranges. If we don't get into the lower ranges, then your entry on your dollar cost average of money that you're thinking about putting into the market is always at the daily break. So I would use this as my guide and just patiently be waiting. But if you already are buying, let me go back to this monthly chart. So I may be able to get this number a little better. So if you are already buying, let me tweak this here because I think I moved this by accident. Maybe I just took this one out. Nope, that was another one up higher. So maybe not. But here, let me look on my other chart. Just a moment, please. I'm just going to check something here. So, because I noticed this EMA is sitting in a funny place. I just want to check something. Take the 100. Let's move it off. That's down here. 1938, 50, 60. All right, that's not what I want. There we go. So I noticed that this was kind of sitting in an odd place. So we know where the bottom of that range is. But if you are buying today, what I did was these weren't at round numbers, so I went and put it at the round numbers where I usually kind of have them at. Um, and the round number kind of gives you your closest area to where this current support might fall off. So if you are buying today, I certainly wouldn't be holding if or I take a position right in some cash position at around 19,452, right? If you break that, then looks like you're definitely going to be seeing some lower price ranges. That then kind of puts this next EMA in play. This down here. So we'll be watching that. Let me go over here and look at any potential crosses. We do see this three was continuing to cross these higher moving averages, which kind of gave us all this momentum work. This got us in these lower price ranges. And as I said in previous video, we had the 9 continue to break that 18. So this gave us this additional 19, excuse me, this additional momentum to the downside, right? So we have a few more crosses to go. Obviously, that could get that could continue this downward range, but most importantly, it looks like in the short term, it's just 3 going any lower. The 9 is kind of far away, and the 19 is kind of far away on this monthly chart. So we don't have any impending ones on the monthly, but you do see where your supports are at. I do want to go back to the weekly and look for potential crosses. So yeah, we did see these, as I was saying, until these get pulled under here, if that eventually happens, but no short-term crosses left. So that's a look at your Bitcoin chart. I'm gonna take a look at the XRP chart for anybody who kind of follows me and is interested in the XRP chart. But obviously, this Bitcoin chart is screaming that this downward momentum is going to continue. So I'm just kind of advising people to let this moving average continue to go down. Of course, you may be looking at the daily if you're looking for early entries, but let this moving average continue to go down and wait until this market kind of reverses because we don't have any sign of it right now. Let's go over to the XRP chart. All right, XRP chart looks very similar, just a little further into its downward movement. So we see this 19 is significantly under the 200 here. Um, all of these are not crossing, so we don't have any cross up or cross down. We just have fighting against the short term three, obviously in a very bearish dynamics, right? So that's not a whole lot to look at here. We do see this brown line has come all the way under these additional moving averages, or red, whatever color it is, under these additional moving averages. This crossing here would be a bad sign, or depending on how you want to look at it, a good sign if you're trying to catch the move, as far as which direction price would be going in. These additional lines crossing over there eventually would also mean we're definitely going into a lower price range. So, like if we get these lines going under this orange line here, that means that we're potentially going to see, and I don't make forecasts, but I'm just using this as a guide, right? For this to happen at this rate and place in the market, it looks like this could put us down into like the 17-cent range, right? If these lines all go under here. Like, so don't know if it's going to happen. We'll just be watching it, but we do have potential crosses. And the only way that those would cross, this price would have to go down for them to cross, right? So it's not like I'm forecasting anything, right? I'm just saying that the only way that those can cross is if price goes down lower. How low, I don't know, but it's kind of far away. This thinner one is about the closer one. So these higher lines look like it would take a significant amount of momentum to get below here. So I'm just speculating that that potentially could be in the 18 to 17% range. Who knows? Could be 20 something, 22. But in order for these to get under here, we definitely have to see lower prices. Is the point that I'm making. So on the weekly, before the market turns, our price today is about 42 cents. If we look at our daily entries, we'll take a look at the daily chart. And again, I want everybody to focus on the weekly, absolutely. But you don't even have an early entry back in until about 30.3438, right? So nothing's going on in that regard. And over here, we have obvious downward momentum on the daily, right? So nothing's crossing. We're not even defeating the three. We have a full lineup from high to low. This is our highest moving average, and they're all fanned out, right? And this is your this is what a chart looks like when it's bearish, right? Your highest number is here, and each one goes down successively to your low number of three. We don't even have a support. So we go over to our monthly to find the support for XRP. We see it is sitting directly on our lowest moving average that we have, and it's trying to break it. So it's probably getting ready to trigger one of my sales here at around 32.10, I think it was, or something like that. Um, Yeah, so we're in that territory where if it breaks in this range, we don't have a lower support for XRP. So it's a significant kind of break here, because this is the last one. We do see this three that's crossing. If this three continues to cross here, definitely going to push us in the lower price ranges. Otherwise, we're fanned out already for a complete kind of move down. If this nine's already crossed, this doesn't have anything else to cross. This nine could continue to cross here and bring a lot of this stuff down. But more importantly, we're getting ready to lose this support. So I'll definitely be following and trading off of this as we move to the day. These are where my little areas are set. My targets are set at currently. Um, Now, just for interesting things, and I'll do this live, that 100, let's see if I moved it to about 106. That's not the 100 then. It's the 80. Let's see. 85. Just a minute. I'm trying to figure out which one of these is this one. So 106, 110. There we go. So if I kind of move that round number to 110, it puts this last moving average that I can actually get this weekly monthly chart to populate would be around 30 cents. So that looks to be our actual lowest support. At 106, it kind of goes up a little higher, right? And it gives us these other numbers. But if I pull it to its extreme, because this is what happens when I say it's extreme, right? And I want to show y'all what I'm doing here. So if I take this to like 115, it should completely go away, right? Because there's no 115 moving average on the monthly. It just doesn't exist. And it will exist in the future. It just doesn't have enough data today in order to populate that, right? So in order to find what that actual lowest number was, right, I got around in this range of 112. I thought it was 112. Sometimes these charts act funny, right? 110. There it is. So we get around 110 and then it comes up and we know that this is our lowest support. So if we break this basically 29.83, then that puts all these lower prices that I was speaking about earlier with these moving averages continuing to cross these higher moving averages until we fanned out, and then this became the highest moving average and everything else was lower, and then like I showed you on the DXY essentially. So this is what we're essentially looking at, right? Everything is kind of resting on this 29 area right today. If we happen to lose that, everyone knows what it is. Everything else as far as lower prices then get put on the table. So glad I was able to show y'all that. But yeah, that's where basically what we need to hold that all case scenario. Now we got a little range in between there, right? So we'll see how this plays out. It seems like the entire market is kind of doing the same thing with Bitcoin. I do got a lawnmower situation. Seems like they want to go off today, so I may take a break in this video and come back. I did at least get to cover Bitcoin and XRP, and I'll jump back in when this lawnmower is not disturbing my feed. So uh, maybe it's not too bad, but it's just very annoying for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one. I may start it back up. Um, but yeah, I think you should have a good look today, at least with these. I'll quickly go over here to DXY because we know that this is what I use as an indicator of when the crypto might come back. And it is very bullish today, spiking at 109 in that 110 area. This is a monthly chart, so it's very long term looking, and it's just bullish as it can be. We see what the early entry was. If anybody had wanted to trade, we see those obvious crosses. We see it fanned out from your highest number being low to your lowest number being the highest. This is extremely bullish pattern. This was your crosses, right? That just let you know you could have easily traded even this DXY and made a ton of money, which is probably what a lot of money is actually doing right now, and the reason why it's not in crypto. And so until we start to lose these moving averages, right, and most importantly here, then the dollar is strong and the money seems to be betting on the dollar. So yeah, I just wanted to dip in and give you some of my most important indicators, and we can see how they are lining up on the 19. Again, doesn't matter which assets it is. This is the dollar, but it certainly indicates your bearish trend. It also indicates your bullish trend. Indicates back to your bearish trend and back to your bullish trend. So the idea here is not about forecasting future price up or down. The idea is accurately identifying trends so that when you see these trends, you're on the right side of the trend and you're benefiting no matter which direction price is going in. So, yep, yeah, this lawnmower is getting on my nerve. I'm going to stop this and probably start back a little later. And maybe we'll cover some other market information beyond just technical analysis. But I did want to dip in and give you this look. Yep, it becomes easy to trade when you know what to look for. Thank anybody who's been paying attention, and I'll catch you on the next one.